All right. Hey, you guys. Welcome. Get in here. Let's talk. Welcome to the recap of the week with Conservative Mama. Get in here. Let's chat. There's a lot to discuss. Lots of breaking news. I'm just saying that. But yeah, I hope you guys have had a good week. What happened? Lots to go. I mean, this is the final week of the Biden presidency. And I don't know anyone that's enjoyed it. Like if I don't know anyone, even if they voted for Biden, they're gonna lie and be like, yeah, it was great. It was so great. Like I loved spending like all of my savings during his president. It's fantastic. I don't believe it. So I don't think anyone's like, oh, sad this is ending. But we're going to get into a lot of stuff today. Breaking news, though. There is breaking news. The inauguration for Trump has been moved inside into the Capitol because of freezing temperatures. There's freezing temperatures coming across our country. The polar vortex. When I say polar vortex, I think of like Gore-Tex, and I think of Seinfeld, and it's Gore-Tex. But it's just really going to be really cold. It's going to be really cold where I'm at. I think it's a high of, I think 1 or -1 on Monday. So that's cold. That's cold. And I walk my dog on all the time. Like I have a dog. He's a big dog, and he's high energy, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherd, German Shepherd, and he requires like multiple walks, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's freezing cold outside. Like I got to do it. So if you see me out walking my dog, you probably won't be able to identify me, but I mean, I got everything on. Let's go. So yeah, it's going to get really cold. To be honest with you, I'm very happy that it's being moved inside. Not to be like, I'm a worrier. I'm not a worrier, but I'm always like, I'm thinking, I don't know. I just feel like Trump is safer inside. No, I'll just say that. So I'm happy. I was happy to hear it. I was like, yes. And maybe this polar vortex, is God intended, right? Let's get people inside. There's much more safety inside. You think about like literally, I don't know how you safeguard or prevent anything horrible from happening when it's an entire city. Like it's different. Like a meadow in Pennsylvania, like that's easier to secure, but there's a lot of security risks with a gigantic city. And so I'm always thinking of that, and I'm like, so I was happy to hear it. I'm like, let's keep this guy safe. Let's keep him safe. Let's keep the people there safe. So not to say that anything would have happened or could have happened, but I'm happy about it. And I know you're probably not happy about it. If you're like, great, now what? I guess they're going to open up some like big stadium there. Is it the Capital One Stadium? Maybe you guys can tell me. Let me turn my comments on so I can see you guys over here. So I think they're going to do that, but that's only seats like, I don't know, 20 to 30,000 people. So it's going to throw off a lot of plans. Okay. So people are probably scrambling right now, especially if you're in event planning and this is like your big thing. I don't know how you do it. Godspeed, all the best, get it done. So that's a big thing that just dropped. Also, news this morning, the Supreme Court has ruled that the ban on TikTok is good to go, and they did not reverse it. So that's, I have TikTok, and I've been let's just confess everything right now. I have TikTok. I didn't have it at first because I actually worked for a PAC for a while on like diving into like the dark side of the Chinese Communist Party. And I was like, I would just don't give them any access. And as time unfolded, I did think, and maybe I was just stupid and naive. I thought that like, the U.S. will buy like that part of it, and then it won't be tied to the Chinese Communist Party, and we'll be good to go. So I got on there just kind of recently. I got my name secured, but I didn't post. Like I just started posting like the last, I would say 4 months. So, but this is really, I mean, if you are a full-time content creator on TikTok, this is absolutely devastating. I do think that Trump is gonna to reverse it, or at least delay it. And we'll see this unfold. But that's very difficult. That's very difficult for content creators. I'm a content creator. I rely on platforms and to be able to. This is the thing. Like, people are like, it's not a job. Well, I write. Okay, I write all my work. I sketch it out. Usually, initially, I play multiple characters when I do it. I buy costumes. I buy wigs. I camera, lighting. Like, it's a job, and I take it seriously, and I absolutely love it. I love creating. I don't. People are like, could you do something else? Like, if it allows me to create, because. And there's a lot of creative people out there, and this has got to be absolutely disheartening. Hopefully, my thing is, I'm split on this, because I don't want any kind of like malware or spyware or anything being able to infiltrate us, as citizens of the US. And I know that China is not our friend. I know, like, a lot of conservatives are suddenly like, China's awesome. No. Do you guys remember COVID? I mean, it's like, can we just step back for a second? They just flew a Chinese spy balloon. We don't know where the drones came from either. So, I mean, they're not our friends. Okay. So, that's what I got to say about that. And so I don't think it's wise to give them that much access, but then they're like, well, then, take away this or take away that. It's a battle. Okay. And I don't have all the answers, but what I will say is I would love for a Chinese company to buy TikTok here and run it here and make sure that Americans are safe and we're not, but I'm anti-government regulation. I'm anti-government invasion. Let people do what they want to do. So there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line. It's like national security risk or just, free speech, get the government out of our lives. The thing is, and this happened with 9/11, with the Patriot Act, right? It's like, well, for your safety, we need to do this. It's like, really? So I don't know. I don't know what to think right now. I don't have all the answers. Hopefully, Trump can figure this whole thing out, and hopefully a negotiation is met, and all the people that are on TikTok that are like literally like content creators and they do this for a job, that they're not just left out in no man's land, right? So that's my take on that. If it isn't even a take, I don't even know what I said. I'm kind of like watching it unfold. Do you know what I'm saying? But I am a free speech person, and I am get the government out of my lives. It was funny today on my drive. I was taking the kids to school, and my son was like, "What's a libertarian?" Like, and he's 12, but he's very like, he's like, "What's the difference? What's the?" And I go, libertarian is pretty much like, just get the government, just go, like, limit the government, limit their power. And I love that. That's like me, right? So I'm like, yes, like, just get out of our lives. Don't tell us what to do. It's like this. I don't want to say I have like a rebellion in me, but if someone tells me not to do something, then I want to do it. I'm like, okay, well, now that you said I can't, now I have to do it. Great. Why did you even tell me that? So very limited government, but a lot of them are like, my body took my choice. And I said, well, it's not necessarily, a lot of them are not necessarily, they're not pro-life. And so we had a discussion about life and all that, but it was very interesting. So that's my, like, I don't want the government to get necessarily involved, but then where is the line where it's like, okay, now for your protection, but not just because we're saying this so that we can then invade your rights and take your rights away. It's just, you got to be very discerning on all of it, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So, that's that. As we get closer, what are we, like, days away, you guys? It's the 17th. Trump gets sworn in on the 20th. We're 3 days out. 3 days out, you guys. And I am seeing a little panic. I am seeing a little emotion from the left. The problem with the left right now is they don't have anyone to, like, really, like, get behind and be like, this is our fighter. this lady or this guy. They don't have anybody to put up. So they're just very much like grabbing at the wind, and like they know they're supposed to be sad and they know they're supposed to be distraught because Trump is Hitler and he's about to take office. What does this mean? Like, but they don't know who to like rally behind. They don't know who to be like, okay, let's do this. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Trump is taking over, but we've got this guy and this is our strategy and this is how we're going to go after you guys. I don't think they've really figured that out yet. But I have seen a lot of emotion and I have seen a lot of TDS. And so I was like, I have to grab it and put it out there. So this was just shot yesterday. And here you go.
We are just days away from Hitler taking office. I quit my job last week because once Trump takes over, women are going to be forbidden from working. My boss said that's not true, and he wanted me to stay. I told him, just wait, just watch and see. I have no idea how people are going about their normal lives, especially women. We're about to lose all of our rights. They're going to take away my driver's license. I just know it. They're not going to allow women to drive. So I sold my car. And I walk everywhere on foot now, and it's really difficult. Have you ever carried groceries 10 miles in the snow on foot? Have you? It's not easy. My neighbor said, why? Why, Cindy? Why did you sell your car? They don't know what's coming. We as women especially are not going to be allowed to do anything. We're going to lose all our rights. They're going to force us to be barefoot and pregnant. So I stopped wearing shoes. I'm just barefoot all the time just to get used to it, you know? And my feet are sore from this, okay? They're swollen and they're sore. I'm putting my house on the market next week. I heard that if you have more than 10 cats, they're going to put us all in internment camps.
So it's completely irrational. It's like, and a lot of it, I think it is TDS. It's a mental, like, just disconnect. And Trump has already been president. Like, so everyone out there that's like, oh, like he has been president, and you still had all your rights, women. Nothing was taken away from you. Nothing was taken away. You still have all your rights. So just take a deep breath and just relax, because it's gonna be, women don't like it when you say relax. I don't even like it when my husband says relax. So we're not gonna say relax. We'll just say take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. But the TDS is real, and I don't know if we're gonna see more of it or if it's gonna start to dissipate as Trump moves into the second presidency, the second term, and it starts to just unfold, and we're like, oh, okay. I don't know. I think there's going to be extreme hysteria when the mass deportations of illegal immigrants starts to take place. I think that's gonna rock the nation. It's going to be a huge moment, and there's going to be a lot of hysteria over it. Although I have seen some Democrat governors recently be like, okay, we will help. If they're here illegally, we'll do the right thing and we will cooperate with the federal government. So we'll see. But we are going into a lot of eventfulness, I'll say. Okay. And a lot. And so I don't know. I'm still waiting to see, because this is what I do. I'm waiting to see what the left is going to do, because they give me the material that I work with. So I'm like, what's the plan? What are you guys going to do? Like, what's the angle? Because I need to know it so then I can then play it out. So and they haven't shown their cards yet. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see how this all plays out. And I'm waiting to see who their champion's going to be. That's always a fun one to watch the guy emerge. We thought it was going to be Newsom. I really did. But the way he's handled the horrible catastrophe, tragedy of what's happened in California and the fires there, I don't think he can be the guy. I mean, now if you're a diehard lefty and you're like, yes, Newsom, yes. But for that moderate there, that's kind of left, that's, you're just your old school Dem, that's like, no, we vote our feelings, but my feelings have been decimated by the way Gavin has handled this thing. So I don't know if that's, I don't think he's going to be their guy. So I'm waiting to see who they're going to champion here. It's not an AOC. I don't think she's the one yet. She could be, if they decide to go farther left, then yeah, it could be her. But even I'm starting to see them kind of swing back because they're like, okay, so maybe we shouldn't, champion mutilating children. Should we back off on that? Can men still get pregnant though? Like, that's the question. Should we? Yes. Is that our angle? Can men conceive? Can they? Should we say they can? Or what's the rule? Like what? So I don't think they know yet. And so once we see what they're going to do, then we can play it out. So what else is going on, you guys? Red dye, number 3, has been banned. U.S. regulations on Wednesday banned the dye called red 3 from nation's food supplies. Now, this is banned all over in other countries. For some reason, the United States is just like, let's keep feeding this to our population. Let's keep feeding it. It could cause cancer, yes. But let's just see. Let's just see, I mean, people having cancer is a big moneymaker for people in the medical field, right? And hopefully people start to wake up how the food industry is teaming up with big pharma and they're just buddies. And we're going to feed them this crap. They're going to get sick. And then you treat them. Hopefully people start to connect the dots. And that's what Make America Healthy Again is all about. That's why they brought on RFK. He's already brought a lot of this to light. Also, the Food and Drug officials granted in a 2022 petition filed by 24 food safety and health advocates who urged the agency to revoke authorization for the substance that gives some candies, snacks, cakes, maraschino cherries a bright red hue. So, and you can dye. You can use natural dyes from cherries, from strawberries. You can extract that and put that as a natural dye into food, and it won't cause cancer. What a thought! They actually did find. The agency said that it's taking action as a matter of law because some studies have found that the dye caused cancer in lab rats. Officials cited a statute known as the Delaney Clause, which requires FDA to ban any additive found to cause cancer in people or animals. I mean, it took a while to do this, you guys. Come on. And I think it's because of the new Trump presidency coming into play here. It's all right, they're going to do a deep dive into all the terrible stuff we're putting in Americans' foods. So maybe we should start to clean it up. Do you think we should we start to clean? Okay, let's do it. I mean, that's basically what's happening here. I bet you're going to see more stuff start to get banned, actually, that's causing cancer. I mean, you would think that would just be something that's just logical. But there's so much money, you guys, in the food and the drug. And they make a lot of money. There's a lot of lobbyists in DC that are like, hey, congressman, let me take you out. Let me wine and dine you. And, look the other way so you don't ban this or don't look into this. I mean, this is all being done, right? And it's the American people that are hurting. So hopefully this gets cleaned up. Also happened this week. Hamas-Israel ceasefire, obviously since October 7th. We're over a year and 3 or 4 months in to October 7th. Finally, they have come to terms with the cease deal. And if you guys remember, Trump said, before I'm sworn in, this whole thing is going to get resolved. And of course, the Biden administration is trying to take credit for this. But if you're just common sense person, just logical thinker, And that didn't get done until like days before Trump is sworn in. And Trump said right before I'm going to get sworn in, this is going to get cleaned up. This is going to get resolved. And now it's being resolved. We'll see. It's, being a Christian, it's never a done deal over there with the Middle East. I believe this is going to continue on. Because it just is going to continue on. You go back all the way to Genesis and you look at Ishmael and Isaac, and you look at Isaac and Ishmael. You look at Esau. This rift began way back in Genesis. Okay. And it's not going to ever get resolved until we see Jesus return. Pretty much. Seriously, that's how it plays out. And I know a lot of people are upset, and it's horrible what's happened on both sides, to be honest with you. The tragedy of October 7th, and then the result of so many people dying. And if you're looking at this, you're like, it doesn't have to be. Like, it doesn't have to be, but it's biblical, it's spiritual. And if you're paying attention, you know that. A lot of people, I'm finding this. And as we move forward, I just want to let my audience know, people that follow me know, I support Israel. Not because it's a country founded by the Rothschilds and they're secretly running the world. Like, stop it with that. There's so much I could say here. Okay, so I got to be careful. What I believe that there's a lot of unfulfilled biblical prophecy. There is a lot of unfulfilled biblical prophecy. There is stuff in the Bible that has been fulfilled. There is stuff that has yet to be fulfilled. Israel plays a major role throughout all of Scripture. Most people that have this hatred, this vile hatred for Israel, that are Christians, haven't read the Bible. They have they've listened to a priest tell them what's in the Bible. They've listened to a pastor tell them what's in the Bible, but they don't know biblical scripture. A lot of these people also are preterists. They believe that all biblical prophecy has already been fulfilled. They believe that it's all done. And now we're just waiting. We're waiting for Christ to return. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that everything has been fulfilled. There's a series of events that have to take place, and Israel plays a huge role. It really does. You look at Zechariah 14, and it literally says, Scripture says, and I argued with a guy because he's like, that happened. I'm like, it didn't happen. You show me where in history the entire world rose up and went after Jerusalem. You show me where that happened, and I'll listen. And they can't do it. So that has not happened. That is unfulfilled. It's not yet happened. But what you are seeing is you're seeing a culmination of more and more and more individuals, even on the right, okay, start to speak ill of Israel. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Israel's not perfect, okay? They're not perfect. Their government's not perfect. The people there are not perfect. Same with Americans. We have bad people in our government. We have bad people in America doing horrible, vile things to innocent people. That's sin. That's the result of the world, and just we live in a fallen world, and you've got all sorts of people doing really bad stuff. Okay. Now I don't want to. I have to be careful, but I do believe that when you're led spiritually and Holy Spirit led, you can see what's going to come before it starts to come. You can. The Bible promises that, actually, in John, that the Holy Spirit will guide you and show you of things to come. And I think that if you spend time with God and in the Word and prayer and Scripture, you'll begin to get a prompting. And I've had several promptings of what I believe is going to unfold and how it's going to unfold, and who some of the players are. They're going to usher this stuff in. But I will tell you this: whether we are nearing that point in time, or whether it's just a foreshadowing, because a lot of stuff in the Bible, even, it's like a circular thing. It comes back and around and around and around and again. And this could be a time of foreshadowing that we're in right now, where you see the rise against Israel, and you see and then it swings back. But if you begin to see it go forward, and I think you're gonna see some people that you love, that you care about, that you respect, eventually turn. So and that might happen in our lifetime, might not. Like if we are closer to all of this stuff going down, then yeah, you're going to see it intensify, or it could swing back and not. I don't know exactly. Can't gauge that, but I can tell you that a lot of people think that they're uncovering something, right? They think that they're uncovering this globalist cabal, and it all stems from this one part of the world. And if we take care of that, if we resolve that, then we can solve it all. What that really is, and just to put it in layman's terms, is it's a antichrist spirit. And I believe it will come in the form of Christianity. I believe that it will come in, we're Christians, okay? And we've located that these guys are the bad guys. And if other Christians rally with us, even other religions, I think you're going to see a blend of other religions come into play that are going to begin to blend with other Christians that are then going to rise up and do what they do. My warning to you, and I feel like I'm called to say this, is walk in the fruits of the Spirit. Okay. Don't let, regardless of what comes out, if something does come out that's just atrocious and we're like, oh, we need to destroy, walk in the fruits of the Spirit. Walk in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, temperance, long suffering. If you begin to see people that are not walking in that, I want to warn you not to follow them. I want to warn you not to adhere to what they're saying. The Bible, Jesus warns so much, don't be deceived. Do you know how deception happens? I don't think people understand. Like, do you know how most people get deceived? When you think about, like, when you watch someone that you love and care about, and you're like, how did they get there? Like, how did that deception even start to take, like, how did that happen? What happens is a spirit of unforgiveness gets inside of you. Okay. So you walk and hold on to bitterness. Once you let bitterness take root in your heart, unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, anger, they did this. They did this. They did this. They need to be punished. They need to be, they crucified Jesus. They need to, like, all of that unforgiveness, that bitterness begins to take root, right? Takes root. Now, once bitterness takes root, then deception can come. Then deception comes and takes place, and it can begin to weave and deceive and make you think and make you believe, and it can totally warp your mind. And that's why Jesus warned, do not be deceived. And so the best way to not be deceived is to walk in forgiveness, to walk in love, to walk in charity, to be kind, to be long suffering, to be patient, right? That is how you prevent deception. And don't let unforgiveness, don't let it in. Don't let it in. I mean, and I've dealt with this myself. I have totally dealt with it myself. I've had people do me wrong, like really wrong. And it would be right, I would be justified in returning the way they treated me back, like just and letting that get inside me. But God really did a work on my heart, and he's like, Rachel, I can't use you unless you walk in love, unless you forgive these people that did you wrong. You got to forgive them, give them to me. What we got to remember is vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Like, it's God will revenge. Like God, people got to realize God is so outside of time. Like, he sees it all, right? He sees the beginning. He sees the end. He is just, and he will judge, and he is righteous. And when you begin to study, like you start to study Revelation, and you start to study the judgment of God, the wrath of God, you wouldn't wish it on anybody. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. I'm serious. When you start to dive into like what the wrath of God looks like, and the wrath of God has to happen in order for God to be righteous, because there has to be judgment. And so I just want to say, as we continue, that's where I stand. Okay. And I will speak out when I need to speak out, and I'll be quiet when I need to be quiet. And sometimes, like, I'm like, oh, I want to say this to them. I want to, like that, and I'll be like, they don't even know. Like, they don't even know that they're being used. They don't even know. And sometimes, which is just so weird, not sometimes, all the time, what has been spoken will come to pass, right? By God. Like, if he said it, it's going to unfold. So he said this is going to happen. Now, me being like, oh, I'm going to fight it. I'm not going to prevent that. I can't prevent that. But what I can do is I can speak truth and maybe possibly wake somebody up that's going off in that's getting misled into it. Just be like, hey, don't get deceived, and keep your heart right. Keep your heart right, man. Keep it soft, even to the enemies, right? That's why Jesus, like, do good to those that hate you, right? Like, turn the other cheek. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of righteousness. And also, the meek inherit the earth, okay? Well, so God's got it. Now, that doesn't mean you're just some passive person that's just like, okay, I'm not going to do anything. God's got it. No, you speak truth. You love people. You share Jesus. That's what we do. But as far as like getting in the thick of it with stuff, like, that's where you got to use judgment and discernment. And some of this, I'm like, I'm just not going to, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let this one go. And we'll watch. And it's fascinating to me who I believe is going to be bringing this thing about, and we'll see. So I don't know, what were we even talking about? That was a tangent I just went on. We are the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And we'll see if that holds. Okay, that's where I'm at on that one. Biden's farewell speech. Did anyone watch it? Did any of you watch it? He did do a farewell speech. He talked about how an oligarchy is taking hold of America. Okay. I don't know if people need to be reminded, but we lost rights under Biden. The Biden administration teamed up and mass censored Americans by teaming up with big tech. That is a huge loss of your individual rights that happened under Biden. Small businesses that were shut down under Biden, with COVID, with using a pandemic to take away your individual rights. Okay. They force people to put masks on their faces. If you think about this, the government actually forced people to wear something for their safety. Like that you as an individual were forced by the government to put something on your face if you were on federal property. Like the rights that were taken, they forced people to inject their bodies with a substance that was still under trial. Like, that's insane to me that we went through that under the Biden administration. You start to unfold, like, they shut down schools, they shut down churches, they shut down small businesses, they kept liquor stores open. The rights that Americans lost under this presidency and the repercussions that we're still suffering. I mean, inflation. The people are hurting. You start to talk to just your normal everyday American, and the impact, especially of small business owners that COVID had on their small business, it is heartbreaking. Marriages, divorces, marriages destroyed, divorces happened. It was so bad. And it was because of an administration thinking that they had the right to impede on individual rights, and they don't. So I don't want to hear it that, oh, the oligarchy is taking over and Trump is going to. No, you did that. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm so beyond done being gaslit. We have been gaslit for 4 years. and it drives me crazy. No. So don't even with it. And it was muffled. It was hard to hear. I'll let you hear a second of it because I can't. But here.
I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. They just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes.
Okay, so he also goes on and talks about how we need to reform the tax code and get dark money out of our campaigns. It's like, were you not president? Like, I find it like very like entertaining, but also like infuriating when someone's like, this is what we need to do. And I'm like, well, you've been in charge for 4 years, and now you're thinking this is what we should do. It was like when Kamala Harris was running. She's like, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to get this done. And we're like, you're vice president. Like, you could do this right now. So don't come at me with like, oh, this is what we need to do now. And I don't like dark money in campaigns. When you start to look at campaigns, the massive amount of money that flies into campaigns, and that the money needed to run for office at this point, it used to be just like anyone could run for office, right? I mean, if you really feel called to that, like, you have to have millions and millions of dollars to do that now. So it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. So I do agree with that one. But he wants term limits on the Supreme Court. No, I don't think you should have term limits on the Supreme Court. I think you should have term limits for Congress. What can we limit congressional terms? I would love that one. The reason why Supreme Court is because what we saw under COVID, right? We saw these mass executive orders, this total infringement on our rights take place under COVID. And then you had the Supreme Court, after like people sadly injected themselves and they don't want to, they're like, I have to keep a job. Okay. To feed my family. Like, they should never have been put in that situation. They were. And then it took a while, went through the courts. The courts are like, no, this is a total violation of your constitutional rights. We're going to overturn it. So the lefties, they want to stack the Supreme Court, and they want to be able to get rid of Supreme Court justices that rule according to the Constitution, that rule for individual rights and individual liberty. So that's their whole take on that one, and that's why they stand on that one. He also said he wants to ban Congress from trading stocks around Congress. I actually agree with that one. I don't think it is unbelievable. You watch these people, they're like, I'm going to go for the people. I'm going to go represent you guys. I've got you. I'm going to go do it. And they go to Washington and they become someone that's unrecognizable. Okay. I've seen it time and time again. I don't know what's in the water in Washington, D.C., but it does something to people. Or maybe it's just the power or the notoriety or the fame but it corrupts the soul. It literally, it transforms people to be people they never were. It's like you morph into like the monster that you went to fight. And I think a lot of that could be resolved with term limits. I don't think you should go and make it a career. I think you go and serve and come home. But what we do see is we see tons of people in Congress, they go and they get really filthy rich off of their stock trades, right? Like they're like, I'm going to invest in this. Not that I have any inside information, but I'm going to, and they come out wealthier than I don't know, a lot. They come out wealthy, really, really wealthy. And you're like, what? And a lot of it comes from trading stocks. And I think that's just unethical. I do. I think that's, and I would love to see that stopped. I really would. So that one I do agree with. The America must lead the world with China with AI. It's fascinating to watch what's going to happen with AI. I do think that America should lead with AI. So that was it for Biden. I mean, he signed out, and it's been a hot mess since he took office. And I don't think anyone, I don't think, well, unless you're trading stocks in Congress, I don't think anyone outside of that has really been like, yes, great. This has been fantastic. The last 4 years of my life have just been, oh, lovely. No, I don't think anyone. I think everybody at this point, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, even if you're like, I hate Trump, like, I think everyone's ready for like a new chapter. Can we turn the page? Can we start new? Can we really begin to thrive no matter what side of the aisle you're on? Like, just instead of scraping and clawing to get by, can we actually be able to like live life and then save a little money on the side? That'd be great. And I think that's where a lot of Americans are. So everyone's kind of anticipating what will happen, what everything looks, how this is all going to unfold. And so we'll see. You guys in your comments. Okay. What else? This is just a side one, but this is so gross. I've been going for a while already. But Darren Bell, a Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist known for his work with the Washington Post, was arrested in Sacramento County for possession and creation of child pornography. Wow. The artist was always obsessing over calling Trump and Republicans horrible things. He groomers, Nazis, all this stuff. He was like rabid about it, and like over the top about it. He included, so he's been arrested. Bell is currently in custody with $1 million bail and is scheduled for a court appearance here soon. What I found fascinating about this is the people that are always harping on like, you just want to ban books. You just want to ban books out of schools. And like the people that really go hard on that were when most normal Americans that want to protect children are like, no, we just don't want pornography in schools. Like that's all we want. And we don't think the people that are creating that should be able to put that in the schools. The people that are going hard on like, no, it should be in schools. Those people need to be questioned. Like those people, you really should take a very hard look at those people. Anyone that's pushing for that just give it another glance. I think like that's the thing. Like this guy was always going hard on Trump and making fun of people that called people groomers. He was very like rabid about that. Like, no, they're not groomers. They just want the books in the schools. Let them have the books in the schools. What are you, like don't believe in the First Amendment? No. Why are you so insistent that we put those books in the schools with the children? Like, what's going on with you? Okay, like let's take a deeper look at you. And what do you know? The guy, he's been arrested for all sorts of grossness, like disgustingness. So always keep an eye on those people, man. The Senate hearings that started this week. There's so many people that have already been interviewed. I'm even behind it. They got Pete Hegseth. We've got Pam Bondi, Lee Zeldin, Sean Duffy, John Ratcliffe, Russell Vought, Chris Wright. I know that what's her name? South Dakota. We know her. What is her name? She had the incident with the dogs. Anyways, she's there today. We've had a lot of people already interviewed. I pulled a couple clips from the Pete Hegseth one that I want to share, just because Pete Hegseth was the first to go through the chopping block. And this meme, I found it, and I wish if anybody knows who created it, because I think it's very important to give credibility to anybody that creates. But I couldn't find like where it originated from. I don't know who originally made this, but this gives a kind of a glance of what Hegseth endured in his hearing. Christy Nome, yes, thank you.
Are you willing to support
yes
our veterans organizations that will help our veterans get every damn thing that they deserve because they...
So that's pretty much what he went through. It's so bad. But I want to address a couple of things that we saw. This one, Tim Kaine, is it Tim Kaine? I think it's Tim Kaine. He was Hillary's, is it Tim Kaine? I got to look this up. He was Hillary's running mate back in 2016. It is Tim Kaine. Okay. That's what I thought. And he thought he was really super clever, coming at Hegseth here.
Cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
it was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And
okay, so I wanted to show that because a lot of people are like, let's don't talk about it. Like, he's on our side, and yeah, he screwed up. Like, he made some mistakes. Yes, he did. He did. He did screw up. He made some mistakes. And infidelity, I'm not a fan of infidelity. I'm just not a fan of it. So yes, acknowledging that is one thing. To bring it up in a Senate hearing when it has absolutely nothing to do with the job or role he'll be playing is just shows how dirty the lefties are, right? That's how they play. Now, Hegseth, he did what he did. He then says, you know what, I've since rededicated my life to Christ and really trying to live honorably now. And awesome. Nobody knows the man's heart. Nobody does. And the Bible even says this too. Nobody knows the man's heart except for the spirit within that man, right? So we can all point fingers and we can all judge. But what Seth has going on with his own walk with the Lord is up to Seth, right? I mean, Pete Hegseth. Why am I calling him Seth? Pete Hegseth. Like that's between him and the Lord. What I thought was just so vile is Tim Kaine coming at him to attack personally when this has nothing to do with making the decisions you're going to make as the head of the DOJ. Like not the DO. Yeah, what he's running for. Gosh, you guys, I'm like drawing a complete blank right now. The military. He's like to be in charge of all of that. Like that has nothing to do with it. So the fact that he came dirty there just shows again just how they operate. And what I love though in this moment was another guy came in. Did I make a note on this? About how the hypocrisy. Senator Mullen comes out and just calls out the hypocrisy. And I'm not going to say, I got to be careful with what I say, but it is alleged that Tim Kaine has his own things going on. Like he's not perfect. I know that Dan Bongino, DOD, thank you, you guys. Like the Department of Defense, running that whole thing, the Department of Defense. And it would help, like, cause I'm just a woman show here. If you had a producer, the producer would be like Department of Defense. And then I could be like, oh, right. Department of Defense. But I don't have that. So I need your help in the comments. But Mullen points out like the hypocrisy. And I know that Dan Bongino also pointed out that Tim Kaine has been known for not so great stuff either. So the fact that you're like, hey, I'm going to point out that you're just a horrible human, when you're also a horrible human. So I love this moment. You guys got to watch it by Senator Mullen.
Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see, but in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army forces
And I've been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too.
I just love that moment. I do love that moment so much. Because you're not going to find anyone perfect. You're just not. And no one is perfect. Everyone here is flawed. Everyone is flawed. And we could get into this too, because there's so much I want to talk about, and I don't have a lot of time, but everyone is flawed and everyone makes mistake. What I like about Pete Hegseth though, is there is remorse in it. Because there's a whole argument taking place right now on Twitter about Andrew Tate and platforming Andrew Tate as conservatives. And he was platformed by a very well-known conservative. And everyone's like, why did you do that? And I think that was a horrible decision. The guy should not be platformed, not a good dude, and has no remorse in him for the decisions that he's made in his past or his present. Okay. Like he's like, yeah, I did what I did. And touts it and is the way he treats women and talks about women, like all of it's just vile to me anyways, but no remorse there. Okay. When you look at Pete Hegseth and when he talks and the way he talks about who he is now, there is a remorse in him. There is a repentance in him. There's a, hey, I screwed up. The first thing to repentance, you guys, is admitting you did something wrong. Like, I'm not perfect. Yes, I made a mistake. And I got to do that all the time. Ask my husband. Sorry, I made a mistake. Like, I'm not perfect. But acknowledging your imperfection and saying, hey, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to turn from that. I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, that's how you can start to judge it, right? Because you judge people on their fruit. Remorse and repentance is critical. And I see that when Pete Hegseth is talking, it's like, hey, I did make a mistake. And I'm now turning from that. I'm trying to make the right decisions now. And so that needs to be recognized and acknowledged. Now, his personal life on another, it's actually his personal life. And it's actually none of my business. And what he does in his personal life is his own business. And I don't think that any of this will impede or affect his ability to gut out the woke junk that we see in our Department of Defense. Like, I don't want to see any more dudes putting on lipstick and going bam to the camera and they're suddenly like all trying to look like a drag queen. Like, I don't want that. Our military should be lethal weapons. That's all we should focus on. That should be the entire goal. Can you defend this country? Can you keep my kids safe? That's what we care about. And I believe that Hegseth, with his vast knowledge and his experience in battle, is the guy to do it. So I was proud of how he handled it. Another clip was just, we don't have time, but Tammy Duckworth, it was so bad. Like, I watched it and I was like, this woman, it was just hysteria. And it just gives women a bad name again. Like, it's just like, just keep it chill. And she just went into like hysteria world. And it's like, just take a breath, Duckworth, like take a breath. But he really went through the ringer. I do want to acknowledge that it was Mike Dice on this one. So, this guy was created by Mike Dice. He's huge. Like he's a very popular influencer. He's on YouTube, all over the place. I've seen him on YouTube. I love his videos. He like randomly interviews people and displays their absolute lack of knowledge on anything. So it's Mike Dice that created that. What else? Oh, Marco Rubio was also questioned, and he was flat out asked, is Cuba a state sponsor of terror? And I found this interesting.
Do you believe Cuba is a state sponsor of terrorism?
Without a question. And I'll tell you why. Number one, the FARC, which is, elements of the FARC and the ELN for that matter in Colombia. These are narco-terrorist organizations and have been. They started out as ideological organizations and now figured out they're Marxists, but they want to make money selling cocaine. So they've done that. They have had the full support of the Cuban regime throughout their entire existence. We know that Cuba has been friendly towards Hamas and Hezbollah, openly friendly towards Hamas and Hezbollah. We know as well that the Cuban regime, for example, hosts not one, but two countries' espionage stations within their national territory, 90 miles from the shores of the United States, and they provide valuable insights and cooperate with these elements. We know that they have strong ties to Iran as well, and the terrorist elements associated with them. And we know for a fact that there are fugitives of American justice, including cop killers and others who are actively hosted in Cuba and protected from the long arm of American justice by the Cuban regime. So there is zero doubt in my mind that they meet all the qualifications for being a state sponsor of terrorism.
So that's interesting to me because I mean, to be honest with you, we haven't like had any real like discussions about Cuba over the last 4 years. So that's something I'm going to have to dive into more intensely. The fact that he's saying that it's a terrorist state is like, okay, so what is that? What are we doing? Like, what does that mean? And what's going to be your, the way you operate as the Secretary of State with Cuba? So the fact that he said that is kind of something that I think we all need to take note of. And then how now is the U.S. going to interact with Cuba going forward if Trump he's tapped Cuban to be the Secretary of State, and his stance is that Cuba is a terrorist state. So interesting. And that struck me as interesting. I draw from that as you will. But I found that like something to kind of take note of, because I don't know how we're now going to interact with them or not interact with them. So we'll see. What else? Okay, this is the last thing. We're wrapping it up, folks. We're wrapping up the week. And think about this. This is my last stream without Trump being president. I mean, with Biden as president. We're wrapping it up. The next time I get on here, we're gonna have a new president. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There's gonna be stuff that I'm gonna love that Trump does, and there's gonna be stuff that I'm like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. And yes, my hope is that everything that we was run on during the Make America Great Again is fulfilled. We walk it out. I want us to completely clean up the Department of Justice. I mean, gut that thing. CIA, FBI, all of them. Like, just clean it up. There's so much junk going on there. Border secure, lower inflation, make America healthy. I mean, there's just so much to take on, and it's got to get done in a short amount of time, really, because we're, within like 18 months, we're in an election cycle for 2026 midterms. So there's just a lot to get done in a short amount of time, and I would love to see it all just wrapped up in a pretty little present bow with a bow on it. Yes, completed, done, seen. So we'll see. This is the last one, and I did this at the top of the week, so maybe some people missed it. Maybe they didn't even like it, but I saw this clip of Jen Psaki on MSNBC, and she's covering the wildfires, right, in California, which has just been, I mean, this sad, I mean, I keep hearing sad story after sad story about just the loss, the devastation. And I lived out there, and I lived right where a lot of that stuff has gotten burned down. I lived in Hollywood, and heartbreaking. And it's not just the rich people affected. This is where people get mistaken here. I wasn't a rich person living in Hollywood. I wasn't. I was working for rich people, but I wasn't, you know, high rolling. And a lot of the people out there, they, you know, if you're working for someone that's super wealthy in the industry and their home gets burnt down, like, you're out of a job. Like, it's over, like, it's done. So a lot of people, I mean, hairstylists, makeup artists, just total loss. And it hurts the industry. It hurts the economy. And so anyways, Jen Psaki, she's covering it. She's covering the wildfires. And somehow, I don't know how she did it, because these people are skilled. They've got talent. But somehow it became about Trump. And I was like, what? So here's a satire I shot at the beginning of the week.
Are we live? Is this okay? Moving forward. But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose.
A version of political points. And I don't even know what that means, but I do know that we're going to spin this whole thing and direct it at Trump and misinformation and half-truths, instead of focusing on the fires and how they could have been prevented. Why, you might ask? Well, because that's what we do here. We need to talk about the leaders, not the current leaders or the current situation, but the ones that will be taking over, because this whole thing should be directed at them. I don't even know if anyone watches this channel anymore, but if you are watching, can we just spin this and make it about Trump? Let's just do it, okay? We here really don't want to talk about the fact that California is run by Democrats. Like, totally. They have a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, a Democrat governor. And the city of Los Angeles is also run by Democrats. That's right, the city of Los Angeles is completely run by Democrats. They have a Democrat mayor, a Democrat city council, a Democrat board of supervisors, a Democrat advisor, and a Democrat controller. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about misinformation, okay? That's the real problem here.
And buckle up, guys, because that is going to continue. I can guarantee you, regardless of what the Dems are doing, the leftists are doing, who they're going to bring up as their new leader, whatever policies they're going to back. I mean, I don't know if they're going to. If I was a leftist, if I was a Democrat, I would be like, let's back off on some of the woke stuff, because obviously it's not taking. Okay, let's just like let's walk it back. I don't know if they're going to do that. If they want to win, that's what they should do. But I don't know. So what we will see, though, I can guarantee it, is the media spin until we completely topple these leftist, deranged, globalist, media-run corporations. You're going to continue to see the spin. And I think what's happened, though, is they're kind of in crisis mode, because a lot of Americans after this last election, they don't want the spin anymore. They're just like, just can you just tell me the news? And then I will digest that, and then I'll form my own opinion from it. Okay, that's what, can we do? I mean, that's how news used to work. They would report the news. This is what's happening. This is how many people died. It's terrible. And then you would take that information and be like, wow, what do I do with this? And then you figure it out in your own, you'd work it out in your own mind, in your own brain, and then you'd have an opinion on it. Now what they do is they take the news, they push their opinion over and over and over and try to make you think a certain way, right? It's manipulative. And it was fascinating to me to watch Psaki, like, somehow, I have no idea how she did it. I mean, I will give her credit on the talent level of that. But it's like somehow the fires in California, let's now talk about Trump. Like, Trump has nothing to do with the California fires. In fact, he warned about it. He said, you got to clean up the underbrush. This thing is like a tinderbox here. Let's clean it up. They never did it. And now everyone's trying to point fingers. But to be honest with you, once a fire breaks out, like once it all starts to go in Colorado, same way here with these we have huge fire, like big fires. We'll have, and it will happen again, because that's what we get, winds blowing and it's dry and we don't get rain, and you're like, it's a high desert climate. And the process for minimizing the damage that is done by wildfires happens before the wildfire starts. Okay. It's all done prior. Do we have the reservoirs full? Do we have do we have enough fire crew ready to go? Do we have the forest cleared out? Are we ready for this fire? Because fires are going to happen. It's going to take place. It's going to go down. Are we ready for it? That's when it all is figured out. And the Democrat policies are in charge of that, because Californians have decided to continue to elect Democrats. So for some reason, the people you elected didn't manage this part right. And now there's horribleness taking place because of it. Okay. All of the problem solving is done before it actually hits. Next up on the plate for California is mudslides. You're going to have a lot of rain when spring hits. That happens every year. And now the Democrats that are elected by the people of California have to figure out, how are we going to make these mudslides as minimally damaging as possible? Like, what are we going to do? And I doubt it very much so that they're even doing that. Okay. They don't problem solve. They just throw money at things. They don't problem solve. You got to go to the root of problems if you want to solve problems, and you have to be able to foresee what's coming your way. So until Californians wake up and say, you know what, we're done. We are done with this, you won't see change. It's up to them. It's up to them, honestly. And so my heart and prayers and it has been horrible to watch this, because I've watched people lose everything out there, and it doesn't have to be this way. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. You prepare before it hits. And earthquakes, California with earthquakes. I mean, it's just, you got to have people. There's a lot of natural disasters that happen in California. So you have to, like, a huge part of running that state should all be surrounded around natural disasters, how to combat them, how to make them as minimally damaging as possible. Like, that should be a huge, like, if you're a politician, like, run on that. Like, that should be your whole, like, message, honestly. Like, we're done with this. We're going to figure out how to make this as less damaging as possible, because we do deal with a lot of natural disasters, and we're going to combat it this way, this way, this way. What do I know? Anyways. Yes, pray they wake up, Peggy. Exactly. Yes. And Peggy is one of my supporters. Appreciate you. So that's it. That's a wrap. And I'm like already over on time. I could just keep talking and talking. There's so much to cover, and there will be a lot to cover next time I head back here, you guys. I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited. I'm excited for change. I'm excited for, like, I'm just like, let's start something new here. I'm so over, like, this last 4 years. Like, so here we go. We have Gretchen in Michigan. Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer. She could be the next person that they tap. Although I don't know if she appeals to that, like, moderate Democrat, Whitmer. I don't know. I love Michigan. I love you guys' as state. I do. I love it. Go there every summer. It's just perfect. It's wonderful. But not Whitmer's not wonderful. No, but the state of Michigan is. Let's see here. What else? Yeah, guys. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. God bless you all. I'm going to keep it real with you as we head into this whole thing. And feel free to support. I always do a shout out to my supporters. I've got my Patreon supporters. I now have people on if you're watching on Twitter, you can support on by subscribing to me. I do a once a week, just Minute with Mama. where I can answer questions from you. I kind of usually have a topic, but if you have something that you'd like me to address or talk about, I would love to do that. But like I said, I'm a one-woman show here, okay? I run it all on my own. And in order to justify continuing doing this, I need to have supporters. So please feel free. Patreon, subscribe on Twitter. Where else? I don't know. But yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. That's the scene. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We've got Martin Luther King Day also on the 20th. And huge inauguration. And if you missed the top of this, they moved it inside, which is a good thing. So more videos. Is that satire videos? I actually ran a poll on Twitter, X, asking what everyone's favorite was. And they said hands down, it's like 60-something% was the satire parody. So more of that. But I'll keep doing the commentary if you guys like this. I mean, I don't know. Should we keep it up or no? I don't know. Of course, I'm going to talk about God because that's the whole point of all of this. Like, if we're not incorporating our faith and what we really believe in and being honest and real, like, why am I doing this? Like, that's like all of it, really, when all is said and done. So, yeah. All right, you guys, God bless you. I'm thankful for you. Have a wonderful weekend and go Trump. All right, we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.